Hello and welcome to your astrological vibrations for Friday, June 16th, 2023 by Gaia Blooming. I am Mimi, and our energy mantra for today is, I see the reflections of my mental ruminations in my so-called reality around me. Remember the show My So-Called Life? Yeah, My So-Called Reality. There we go. So, building to this new moon, definitely some interesting vibes building into this Saturn retrograde. And today we have the moon and Saturn in a square, preparing preparing for these energies, preparing for the new moon, preparing for this retrograde. And what we need to look at, what we need to work with is in our face, and it is just our job to be present, pay attention, notice, and not try to avoid the responsibility. Saturn always brings us to responsibility. So what you are noticing is part of your personal responsibility, of your mind, of your understanding, of communication. Now with this square of Saturn, there could be, again, more communication issues, especially as the moon and Mercury are actually connecting today as well. So definitely some more communication issues coming to the surface. But again, the work is personal responsibility in this. Now, I'm not going to say that it's easy, because we also have Lilith today moving from Venus over to Mars. So Lilith oscillates. Lilith can jump around quite a bit. So Lilith is jumping basically 6 degrees to come spend some time with Mars. It almost feels like a messenger. It almost feels like Lilith connected with Venus. And Venus also preparing for retrograde is like, here's where I'm at. And now Lilith is coming to connect to Mars. This energy is fiery. It is passionate. It is in Leo. It can get a little bit in its ego, pulled out of its heart, and it can be a little reactive. So watch for your reactions to your responsibilities that are showing up. But my feeling is, if you are able to pay attention, we have so much potential for breakthrough. And to me, that's worth it. Oh my gosh, it's so much better than that ego payoff of being right? To like be able to break through these long-standing patterns. And that's the thing. With Saturn going retrograde, and even just with Saturn in Pisces, there's so much work helping take us through the last essentially 29, 30 years since Saturn was last in Pisces, as it went around the zodiac and has taken us through all the different layers of the responsibility. So in Pisces, it's like, wrap it up. But this is also taking us through lifetimes. So there's so many levels where this is coming through. Like, there's definitely the micro levels, and then there's the macro. And so just keep that in mind. Anything you're working on, chances are, even though you can't see it, there are just like layers that you are peeling through. So it's interesting, because the image in my head as I was doing that was like all the layers of like the skin and the dermis, and then down into the fat and muscle and all of those things. That's what I was seeing. Like, there's so many layers that are being worked on. Your attention is necessary, but your attention will also pay off. So hold the intention to pay attention. We just got a little squeak from Mahalo on that. So like I said, Moon and Mercury connecting at 12:12 p.m. Pacific time, if that's not something, right? Emotions and the mental are very, it's an interesting word, coagulated. It doesn't feel like it's the right word for that, but that's the word that's coming to mind. They're just very entwined and really building up on each other. So maybe coagulated is right. Be aware of that. We are deep in the dark of the moon. This is the place where so much psyche resides, so much unconscious can reside, and again, can bubble up to the surface, but especially in reflections in the world around us. We also have the moon connecting to Venus. So Venus in Leo. Oh, and that moon just wants to hype up Venus and Leo. But just keep being aware of your shadow, right? Like, it's like we all have one. Be aware of that energy. Now, the new moon is not happening till Saturday late in the evening, 9:37 p.m. Pacific time. Saturn retrograde is happening earlier in the day. It's happening at 10:27 a.m. on Saturday Pacific time. I am going to show up and do a scope, so don't you worry about that. But just be aware of this new moon energy, and be aware beyond the shadow how much that you can seed and pay intention with your mind. Oh my gosh, that is the greatest thing ever. Pay intention with your mind for planting these seeds with this new moon. So like I said, breakthrough energy for sure here for us. We got to get through the minutia, the details, the stresses, all of that stuff. That's up, like, it's here. We have the politics card in reverse. You don't need to pretend to yourself, to the universe. The universe knows. I know sometimes the world, we're not ready to necessarily not pretend, but are you pretending to yourself? I do have the understanding card in reverse. We may not be so understanding, especially if we're seeing our shadows in somebody else or our shadows in reflections in the world. And we're not necessarily wanting to go there, right? So if you don't go there, maybe it's not the time. But I also getting, you might not have to actually go deep. It might just be the awareness. Sometimes we don't have to go so deep with it. Sometimes it just really is the awareness. And you don't have to go looking for the root. And you don't have to find all that. Just cultivate the awareness of it and see what happens there. Because sometimes the awareness is that breakthrough for that shift. So that's it for today. You can book a reading with me. Email me, mimiclark@gmail.com. Besides that, the better it gets, the better it gets. There's more than enough love in the world for you. You have the power, and honor your values. Namaste.